All righty, I got 4:30. We're ready to go, it looks like.
Yep, we're good to go.
Oh,
Because he's presenting an issue.
okay, all right. All righty, let's call this meeting to order. If you could call the roll, please.
Commissioner Bailey,
Here.
Commissioner Bunting,
Present.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here. John, could you give us a prayer tonight?
Heavenly Father, we ask your blessings on this meeting, Lord, and we ask you to give us guidance over the things that we're considering tonight. Lord, we especially ask for your blessings on the families that lost loved ones this past week, especially those who passed after long battles with cancer, like Alice Schaefer and Lisa Cinco. Please bless those families, Lord, and help them to come through this period of mourning. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Born and unborn in Michigan also. Okay. Any additions to the agenda?
Under unfinished business, I think we're going to put the airport terms of engagement.
That would be the retainer letter and the resolution.
Under M1.
M1. Oh, there it is. Okay. Anyone have anything else? You ready? If not, motion by Commissioner Bailey. We need a second. Support. To approve the agenda. Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. We have an agenda. And public comment. Any member of the public wish to address the board? Do you see anybody online?
Nope, nobody else is connected in right now.
Okay, thanks, Matt. It's from the ceiling. All righty. Let's move on then. To the administrator's report.
No.
Calendar. Oh, that's right. We haven't approved the calendar yet. Okay. Anyone want to pull anything out of the calendar? If not, we're looking for a motion to approve.
Second.
By Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Lemmerman. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, nay? Motion passed.
Just a couple of issues from me tonight, because you'll hear from me on some other issues, but of course, a big work item in our office at this point is the budget. And work on that is continuing. As of today, Chris indicated that the two largest chunks, those for the courts and for the sheriff, had been delivered to those folks for review. So that is a huge piece for him to have moved. Again, it's in his intention to have that to you on or about September 1, although I anticipate that, as usual, he will roll out certain sections of that budget to you at your next meeting. That's the meeting on August 16th. Also, something that is largely unseen by you, and that's well, but do know that the questionnaire for our insurance through Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority was completed and submitted last week for the next fiscal year. This thing is pages and pages and sections long, and it takes about, I don't know, 6 or 7 of us to take certain chunks of it and to finish it up. And that was completed and submitted last week. I do have some questions into our representative on that. Haven't heard back, but there won't be an issue. Sheila is engaged in preparation for our negotiations with our two unions. The two we're negotiating with this year, GELC and TPOAM. She has one or both of those sessions scheduled, and that sometimes takes longer than the negotiations themselves. And she's continuing her work on salary comps. We're going to bring this work to you, and we'll discuss this in closed session at your next meeting on August 16th. Again, we're following a process that's the usual process of what we've followed for at least 6 years. So let's see, I don't know if you've heard, but there's an election tomorrow. Good luck to everyone. And beyond that, other issues for discussion are on the agenda this evening. So I will leave it at that. If there are any questions. Give it to the chair.
All righty. Next, let's move on to commissioners' reports. John?
I have no report.
George?
Let's see, I went to Board of Health meeting last week. And we passed the budget for the next fiscal year. And we've asked all three counties. One county actually got a decrease, the other two had a slight increase. Ours was $1,006 or something crazy thing like that. It wasn't much. So nothing much has changed with everything else that's going on in the world. That was good news for us, I think. And that'll do it.
All righty, I was at the same meeting and you covered everything. Jan?
Yes, I went to Breckenridge City Council meeting last Monday. And the question I had asked, things are going pretty good there, but I asked how Siler's was doing. It's closed now for renovation, and I was surprised they're going to try to open up by Labor Day weekend again. So that's good news. And that's what they're hoping for at least. Other than that, that would be about it.
I don't have a report. We had no meetings.
All righty, very good. Any questions for anybody? Okay, we're on to new business. Jennifer, you have something for us?
There she is.
Good evening. I'm here tonight. As you know, I'm the court administrator, and I'm here tonight asking for approval of the annual child care fund budget. This is a budget that I have to put together for the state of Michigan. Any eligible expenses under that budget get reimbursed to the county at 50%. I've also included the service providers contracts that we do annually under the child care fund budget with Partners in Change, Aaron Smith, Jacob White, and Burgess Psychological Services. Additionally, this year, I'm looking to contract with MGT Services to provide administration of a new grant that we're receiving. We're going to receive $80,000 is the projected amount for Raise the Age, which is the juvenile legislation that passed about a year ago now, which had moved 17-year-olds back to the juvenile court. If they get in trouble, they're now handled in the juvenile court. And so the state is providing the money to cover that. And MGT will be providing the administrative services for that grant. And that contract's for $8,000, but it will be 100% reimbursed through the grant. Happy to answer any questions that anybody might have about any of it.
Jennifer, our participation, you said there's a 50% reimbursement. Is that in our budget? That's in your budget?
Yeah,
50%.
this has to be done annually. So yeah, this
Yeah,
is
I
just a
know.
renewal of that.
Okay. So is that in last year's budget or is that in the budget coming this year?
Both.
Both, okay.
Yep.
I make a motion, we approve this.
Motion by Commissioner Smith. We have a second.
Or
Second by Commissioner Bailey. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up. Doug, you're up with the salary increase, a request increase. You're covering that?
Thank you, Chuck. Okay. My name's Doug Yost, and I am currently the chair of the Gratiot County Parks and Rec, obviously here in Gratiot County. And I'm here today representing the board of the Parks Commission or the Parks Board, requesting a salary increase for the position of Parks and Recreation Director on July 20th of this year. 8 of the 10 board members held a closed door session, and it was determined unanimously that the current director has met or exceeded all applicable qualifications as outlined by the Michigan Civil Service Commission job specifications, which is what we used for the job description for this Parks and Rec. It is the opinion of the board that Pete, Gratiot County Parks and Rec Board Director, is qualified as a Parks and Rec Manager level 3 or grade 14. This particular grade is represented in the state of Michigan by an hourly salary between $30.46 and $45.43. Currently, the Gratiot County Parks and Recs Director is compensated $28.84 per hour below this minimum level. It's also been determined that the average annual wage for a park and recreation director in the state of Michigan is $63,000, $63,030. Okay. The board understands great difficulty in making fair and equitable comparisons to other Michigan counties in determining appropriate compensation. I don't want to elaborate on that, but I can tell you that we spent several hours trying to make these comparisons, and all the way from assets to employees to acreage. And in each and every case that we studied, we saw that it generally comes down to the county of itself saying, what is this person doing? Are they performing at or above what you expect them to as a board? Okay. With that said, the park has continued to present and improve and expand the wonderful experience of all visitors. In the past year, Peace Direction has been initiating and implementing and refining the following: online reservation system for campsites and pavilions, which hardware was bought and is working very satisfactorily in the reservation of our campsites and pavilions. Purchased, installed, and trained all employees on new POS system to enable taking all forms of payment for goods and services provided by the park. We felt this necessary as we were expanding our concessions and our inventories and outgoes and incomes of this. We didn't feel we were monitoring it completely. Pete spearheaded this, and we now have a POS system with all permanent and temporary employees trained on this system. Installed 2 guardhouses, 1 each at Hubshire and Reed, to collect entry fees from out of the county visitors, which we do charge out of the county visitors coming into our Gratiot County parks. And contracted and had built 2 new concession stands on each park, which are currently operational. In addition, Pete has been instructed in the implementation of was instrumental in the implementation of the matrix and due diligence rating system for all applications received from county municipalities for projects not part of the Gratiot County Parks and Rec. This responsibility was added in the most recent millage renewal of 2020, where prior to that, for the first 16 years, we were limited to only improvements, additions, assets in the 2 Gratiot County parks, which are Reed, of course, and Hubshire. We later added Pompeii Park and also Luniak Landing, and they became a part of the Gratiot County Park system. But in the millage of 2020, there was a provision put in there where other municipalities in this county can make application to secure funds from the Gratiot County Parks and Rec, okay, to improve, not necessarily maintenance, but to improve their recreational values in their parks. This would include all township, city, and village parks. Okay. He does have a bachelor's degree in Parks and Recreation Management. He has completed various environmental control courses and has attended state and local park seminar meetings. Pete has been in the position at Gratiot County Parks and Rec for 11 plus years. He continues to excel at his job, always being available, staying in budget, and always keeping the visitors first. Gratiot County Parks and Rec Board is requesting a $5,000 annual increase for the position of Parks Director effective immediately. This would raise the salary to be paid out, not paid hourly, but it breaks down hourly from $60,000 to $65,000 or an 8.3% increase. Questions?
Yes, what was that again? 28. Oh, no, that was $28 an hour.
$28.84 is what we figured out to, and we do not have a provision if he works over 40 hours for overtime pay.
You said now it would go up to 65,000 and what?
Flat.
How much would he get yearly?
He would go from 60 to 65,000.
Okay. A couple of questions I had.
Certainly.
When's the last time he got a raise?
Probably got a 2% token last year.
Okay. And
At least it was in the budget. I assume it was paid.
this comes out of your budget, out of the
Yes,
millage, right?
yes,
You guys have the money to cover it.
yes.
And that was the important. And somebody else can ask a question. I just had wrote three of them down. I don't know what I did with three, the
I
third.
appreciate that.
I know he does a good job out there.
We think he does. We evaluate him every month, so.
Doug, you said he was currently 28 and change now per hour.
Correct.
And what was that range that you talked about that?
The range was $30.50 to $45.50.
So what,
If I did the ratio right, that would raise it to 31.24 in that ballpark, if I did the math right. Does that sound about right?
You take 65 and divide it by 2080, it's pretty close, yeah.
okay. I
We
think,
feel that Pete, and again, we're the board and I'd like to share with you that this Parks Board are pretty dedicated people, and in the 17 years that I've been on that board, we have not one time not been able to conduct business, and we hold meetings every month, and this is an outstanding park board, and they stay on top of their game. And although we've had some turnover on it, we have several that have been there for 6, 8, 10 years. And again, they're appointed by you. We understand that. But we feel that we have got a good employee here. He's available, like I say, at all times, and he's willing to continue to further his knowledge in what we do. We have had a problem here last year, as you all know. We had the algae bloom situation that shut down our Hupshire Park, but Pete was right on top of this, knew what it was, got the solutions to it, and we were able to get it corrected. And we do not now, every week, our water samples are taken by the DNR, to ensure that this does not occur, or if it does occur again, it's only 6 days old, But we have a good employee here. We feel we have a good employee here, and that's why we're bringing that to you.
I think as long as it's coming out of your budget and you have enough, I don't see any reason why we can't give a raise to him. And it's been quite a while. You said the only.
I can't say that, Jan. I cannot. We budget every year for a 2% into that thing, but here a couple years ago, and when I say a couple, it may have been 3 years ago. Last year was a little flaky year for those of you that weren't aware. We had a pandemic going on. I'm sure most of you are, but 2 or 3 years ago, there was an adjustment to his pay grade, and he did receive pay more than the customary 2.25% at that time.
Do you
No.
remember what it went to? Like, what was the numbers on that?
I cannot give you that. I obviously find it, but he went up 2 grades in pay, which means nothing. That it means nothing if you don't know how much that was. But we're specifically or generally looking at, the average, we're trying to get this guy the average pay of what parks directors are in the state of Michigan. We're just trying to get that with a little bonus on the side of it. And again, this would be funded by our budget.
I'll make a motion that we approve to give him a raise. And it would be level 3.
Well, it's level 3, but see, that right there is assigned by the Michigan Civil Service Commission. You have level 1, we're talking about directors. You have level 1, level 2, and level 3. And Pete meets those qualifications of, there is nothing after level 3, but he meets that qualification of level 3. And I've outlined for you things above and beyond, those responsibilities that he has performed for us.
So what you're saying is that making 63,000 or 65,000, it puts him just above the level 3.
That is correct.
Okay.
Well, no, that level 3 would be as high as $45.40. So we're doing dirty math on that. $45.50 on would be $94,000. That's top of that pay scale. But then again, that's an average, calculated by, literally hundreds of parks commissions around the state of Michigan, not only city, county, township, it's a real tough thing to get a firm handle on.
Another question I have to ask you is off a little bit, but now that we have outside people that visit our parks, do we now charge them or we don't charge them?
Yes, we do.
We do? How much do we charge?
We charge per day, $5 per person, per car. And if they want a season's pass, we charge them $35.
It's pretty cheap. A lot of people there.
There's no question, but then again, I was there yesterday and there were in excess of 300 people at Reed Park and there were over 150 people at Hupshire. So
Adds up though, it kind of helps, doesn't it?
we do, of course, it slows down as the year goes on, because some people have.
And do you guys still take in the wintertime, do you leave them open for?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do. We have to provide some place for the sheriffs to go to the bathroom. So don't put that. Yes, we are open because we have cross-country skiing. We groom trails out there for cross-country skiing, both at Hupshire and Reed. So we literally never lock the gates. We can't lock them anytime during the summer because we have campers, and they would need to get out of there. So yes, the gates are there, but we don't close the parks.
Do you guys skate out there at all?
I'm sorry?
You do ice skating out there for kids?
We have not, although that's in our 5-year plan. There's huge expenses in operating something like that. Of course, ice skating would be in the wintertime. We have darkness, at 5:30. You would need illumination out there. And it is something that is in our plan. But there are other heavily cost items that we're going to need to address before that. This commission has already approved the $270,000 paving job that's going to go on out there this fall. As soon as visitors slow down, we have another $115,000 to $20,000 handicap accessible kayak and canoe launch that we'll be bringing in front of you for approval at our Hupshire Park. We're still short about $170,000. We're not short. We still need another $170,000 to finish our paving work and drain work out of things we do cost a lot. It costs a lot of money and you have to do it right because of what you're dealing with here. Our equipment is getting old, but we stay on top of it. You're looking at a $395,000 playscape at Hupshire that's been out there almost 14 years, and it takes maintenance to keep those things running, and as it does with all things. And we understand that.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Bunting to approve. Did I get a second?
Can I have a clarification? Because all I had was level 3. Is it a 5,000 annual increase? 65,000.
Up to 65,000. We're asking from the board, we're asking the commissioners to approve a $65,000 salary.
Is that your motion, Jan?
Yes, it is.
Effective August 1st.
Yes.
Yes.
65, not up to 65.
No, 65,
65, not up to.
correct.
Okay, do we have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Lemon. Any further discussion or questions?
Yes, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Pete part of a group of individuals back in 2019 that got quite an adjustment to their wages?
I don't know if that was effective in 19. Was it 18 or 19? I think on that, George.
I think it was 19.
But I think at that time he was raised two levels, if you will. And he had qualified for it, but had never received the funding for it.
What do you mean?
Excuse me? I'm raised. Yeah, you got a raise. Okay.
That's what I was asking.
Okay, you got a raise. I'll go along with that.
Okay.
I understand. Catch up can be expensive. I understand that.
Mr. Chair, we have you.
Go ahead.
Just want to offer some clarification. This did not come through our office or HR, so we really didn't have an opportunity to study this for you, nor to speak with Doug and help shape this. But Doug's been talking about the Michigan civil service criteria. We don't use Michigan civil service criteria. We're a county, and we have our own classification system such as it is, but we have one that is pretty solidly in place for department heads and the executive group because of the class comp study that was done in 2019. That study was prompted, it was way, way overdue, but there were two catalysts, and one was a concern that the Parks Director was undercompensated. So that study was done, and there were two department heads that received the most sizable increases, and one was the Parks Director. When spent time looking through for comparables in the state of Michigan, well, again, that's what we do. And we don't look at Kent County or Ionia County. We have our group of comparable counties. By the way, everything I'm going to say and have said has nothing to do with Pete Little. No one here is going to disagree that Pete's a huge asset to this community and that he does a great job. However, compensation and the base compensation is not based on that. It is based on knowledge, skills, and abilities. And so the study that was done in 2019 studied and classified and ranked knowledge, skills, and abilities. And then there was the increase. Since that time, this board has voted consistently during my time here to grant to department heads and all other employees the increases that are negotiated with the unions. So Pete has been able, this position has received those increases. In addition, our salary scales have grades, and Pete went from a lower grade. This position went from a lower grade to, I think, level 5 maybe. And then from there are steps on the scale, unless topped out every single year on his anniversary date. This position would also receive the increase that's next on the scale. So we don't pick numbers randomly. We don't follow the Michigan Civil Service criteria. And when we examine comparable salaries, we look at comparable counties. I guess I will say in conclusion that if you're looking at an 8.3% increase for this position, probably someone will beat me to you, other department heads here. That's too bad, but other department heads will be here asking for 8.3% increases. And then the two unions that you're negotiating with will be looking for 8.3%. So that's an aside, but when you're thinking about the budgetary impact, you have to think beyond the parks budget and so forth. So again, I don't know if this position is entitled to an increase. I just know that you've not heard the criteria that such a decision would be based on, with all due respect.
No problem.
Any other questions?
I've got a couple more for Tracy. So what union is Pete's raise? If he gets a raise, what union negotiation is it tied to?
It is for this board to decide whether to give non-union members the same increase that is negotiated with the union members, let's say 2%. And this board consistently, at least in the time that I have been here, and I've seen some in the past, that this board has granted the same increases to all employees, non-contract. So including the parks director. So that's off of the salary scale that he's on. And so it's just additional.
So effectively, since 2019, when he got his bump, 2020 and 2021, he received 1.5% or 2%.
At one time.
From 2019, he received that raise.
Yes.
But in 2020, 21 and 22, he also received what we gave the union folks. And I don't remember 1.5% or 2%.
It's been a little different. Generally it's around 2%.
Yeah. So
this is.
So he went from 2019, I'm saying, he went from a 2, a 2, and a 2. That winds up 6. So he's had a 6% increase since 2019. The same.
You have the exact numbers from what it started out as and what it is now.
But like I say, this did run through our office. I haven't had a chance to prepare anything for you, Jan. I'm certain that Ms. Rios could meet with Sheila and get.
Boy, I tell you, I like to be fair with everybody. And that's what I'm wondering about, maybe tabling it until the next meeting. And we could get a little bit more information on it. That'd be okay.
Sure.
I did that way, we don't have a clear picture of this, so sometimes it's better to table it and just get a better picture of,
What can I provide you as a clear picture?
well, how much was he making in 2019? And how much did it go up in if he was getting a 2% raise each year, how much did that go up? Each one of those years, I would think. And county, county, we would have.
Ask Ms. Rios to meet with our human resources director.
Our director.
Information.
Sure.
That's not work.
Happy.
We could sort of arrange, but maybe not do this 8% raise, maybe. If he's making.
Well, we don't know what the numbers are.
Yeah, we need to get some numbers here, but if he's making, what'd you say, $28.84 an hour, and he went to $31.84, is what I've got down here, maybe not go as much, and
I didn't,
and he will get another 2% raise this year too, won't he?
see, to,
Well, it hasn't been negotiated, has it?
Yeah, it's usually right around 2%.
Well, until you start negotiating this year and you've given a director 8%, I gotta believe the union's gonna say, I'm not negotiating with these folks, but
to directors and supervisors fall underneath the collective bargaining unit.
what's happened is that we've given them the raise that whatever the union has got, it's been about 2% a year. And so what happened about in 18-19, we went through all the department heads and we had a committee set up of 7 or 8 of us. I think Mike was on the committee, and we went through and scored them out of. We looked at SEVs of counties, we looked at population, we looked at square miles, and we even looked at grains or something with.
That's something different. You're talking about elected officials.
Oh, no. Well, no, this one we did department heads too, though. I thought we did department heads. Oh, okay. I guess I'm wrong.
But you was studying dollars and criteria, and it's a similar process
Yes.
that is done in classification compensation studies, which was done.
But it seems to me in that, and I'm only speaking as the board of the parks, it seems to me that that is a simplistic path of least resistance. Once we get our collective bargaining unit negotiated, we'll just shove that increase, onto people that are not union members or collective bargaining units, and not taking into consideration they're excelling in the job, they're learning about the job, they're training of others in the job, I understand negotiated union contracts. I understand that. Okay. But yes, I know a lot of the benefit package would have, speaking of pensions or 401ks or dental or health insurance, et cetera, that a lot of times just carry across. But I've never seen it carry directly across to the supervisors. Say, well, they got 2, so you get 2 too.
That's been a common practice ever since I've been here.
But also, don't we have a level? I thought we had a chart that was a level, like for the supervisors or anybody, you're at a certain level and you keep working your way up as you're here longer. And plus you would get your 2%.
Grades.
Grades, yes.
Knowledge, skills, and abilities, you land on a certain grade, and it doesn't matter which, let's say, grade 5. And then there are 6 steps on that scale that contemplate exactly that over time, someone gains an experience and abilities and so forth. So that's exactly what steps are. So folks don't just get a 2%, just because the unions get them, although I've not heard anyone complain about getting that 2%, but there is a structured system for this,
Understand. Understand, but when you're making those types of comparisons of department heads, whether it be transportation or whether it be whatever it is, these are not the same positions.
I agree.
They are not the same positions. And you have job descriptions generally in your collective bargaining that are very specific. Very specific, but I don't know if that's that specific when you start talking about supervisors and you're talking about, superior, exempt employees, if you will.
One of the things is now I would be curious too to know, we have the animal control, which is like a supervisor, and we've got parks and recs. I'd like to make a list of all the ones that we have that are out there and exactly what they're all making.
We got a salary scale. They came out of that 2019 study.
Yes.
And we can give it to you again, but it's out there, it's online, it's available to everyone. No, we do not rank all department heads at the same level. Some are at a higher grade than others, because you're exactly right. The duties of the positions are different. And again, it's contemplated and factored into the structure into a classification compensation study and system.
But it appears that with all of that said, that the 1.5 or 2% just became the norm. That's what we're not going to take into consideration. The abilities, the additional training, we're not going to take that into consideration.
We do. Next year, you get the next step on the scale, and the next step on the scale in addition to the 2%.
Now, do we have that scale now, or did that fall to the wayside, that scale of increasing in grade in your position?
I so wish, and I would ask this board to allow Mr. Yost to come and talk to Ms. Barnaby or to me, and we can offer an education about how classification and compensation and salary scales are done. Because I think that could be very helpful. Because again, the notion that we would create something that's going to cast aside, and then an employee would not continue to get the benefits to which he or she is
Curious to know.
Sorry, did you have a question?
No, I was talking with Sam. No, I gotta tell you, I'm kind of curious. I want to, if you give us till the next meeting, I'm going to go through and see all the department heads and exactly how they've been moved up each year. And I will share that with you also.
Sure.
Because, I know it's on parks getting, but there's other department heads here too. I'm just curious how they've been, they're making and how they rest to go up the ladder. When they started out, if that's okay with you. And then I'll share that with you because I am kind of curious. I know that we seem to be running into this a lot where, some people really do need these. And I don't remember parks ever coming in here and asking for an increase. I think you just probably maybe, I don't know how that has gone. I know I've been on your board before and I don't remember how.
The last increase he got was because we did a study and he fell into that study. That was 2019.
He was one of the highest raises that come out of this.
He was one of the ones that benefited the most.
Well, but
That study.
Do you feel the same way, Doug?
no, I don't. But then again, I'm, I just got a 67% increase for being on the Parks Board. That's a huge raise, isn't it? Went from $30 to $50. It's all kind of relative here. He may have got a raise back in 2019, but was he at that time underpaid for that position? And did the make good cost quite a bit of money at that time, which we'll be able to find out from Human Resources, what happened back then. But was he being, and we as park board members, were we not doing our job, staying on top of what should this person be making for this position?
This is a county position, so we have a system into which all county employees fall that we think is pretty fair to our folks. So, the problem becomes if the Parks Board wants to begin to function independently, we just can't fit it into this system without it having a huge ripple effect.
I can truly respect.
I gotta tell you, I disagree with that because just recently we gave somebody a raise that makes more money than our sheriff, who is working 7 days a week and 24 hours a day. And that we didn't catch it until afterwards that our sheriff is making a lot of money than somebody else in the department head. So I believe that was the IT guy. We gave him a raise and he actually makes more than the sheriff. And the sheriff is a 724. And so, this giving raises and stuff, I'm a little bit more conscientious about it. But for the benefit of the doubt, let's say, the benefit of the doubt, I can be here on the 16th. And if you can be here, we'll do a little research. You do it on your end, I'll do it on my end. But I just think that some of the raises that are given out, we are. I think I'm not seeing a full picture of the whole courthouse. And what we really need, I would like to request is everybody who works here and what their title is, and what do they make? So when somebody does come in, we can kind of, is this a department head and this is a department head and what did they get on 2019? And what have they gotten since then? That should be easy to do.
Commissioner Bucket, we have all of that information. Most of it is online and we work with the Human Resources Department. We can give you a lot of information.
That'd be great.
And
Thanks.
call us after the agenda issues. If you have additional questions, we can provide that. But the notion that this is unknown, I just have to speak out and say that is just not the case. The information is there. You in fact served on the review for the classification compensation proposals and saw how this work is done. It's not about who got highest last or what we in the public sector. This is not the way classification and compensation works. And so
For the benefit.
we now have a system for reviewing the compensation of elected officials.
So it sounds like you're withdrawing your motion. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I will withdraw it and then we'll meet again on the 16th.
And you're gonna meet with HR
Yeah,
peers.
yeah. I will.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Second, you incur in the withdrawal.
I concur.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
That'd be next meeting. Okay, next up, Lori with Human Services.
The three contracts that I bring before you every year are in addition to the county child care fund that Jennifer spoke of earlier, which is why I stood up. I thought I was next. I'm sorry. Made sense that I would go next. So of the three contracts, unfortunately, we only have one that we have a contractor for, and that is our county child care fund contract with Child Advocacy. Child Advocacy is a $10,000 contract and they perform for us two essential duties. They do a foster parent, adoptive parent support group for us. And they also do parent education called Stewards of Children. We have seen an alarming increase in our county in sexual abuse. And they provide a training for parents to be able to identify that, to speak with their children about that, and how to move forward. So that contract is again $10,000. And that has been signed by their CEO, Audra Stahl. So that is our first contract. The second two contracts that we have are also normal contracts. Unfortunately, my contractors in July decided to tell me that they would not be able to continue. And we've done this in the past. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I asked you to approve the dollar amount just to hold it in your budget. And then when I had a contractor, I came back. The one contract is a parent mentor contract, and that position supervises our foster care visits between parents and children who have been removed. We changed the verbiage to call them a mentor because we have them spending a lot more time with our parents, teaching them parenting skills. We also have them talking with the foster parent and the parent together, trying to form some sort of a relationship with them so that the parents don't fear or have animosity towards the foster parents or vice versa. So that if little Timmy gets a on his report card, foster parent says, let's call mom and tell her, as opposed to you can tell her at your visit. So it's really trying to foster that relationship. It's done really well through Highfields. Unfortunately, with the rest of the world, they cannot find people to stay in that position. So they were unable to continue the contract, which is sad for us because I don't know what we'll do. We're currently trying to find a new provider. The third contract that we normally have is Advanced Impact. And that contract is a larger contract for $89,000. And that contract provides a master's degree level counselor going into the home at least 2 times a week to do a family assessment for us, to provide face-to-face counseling, provide a wide range of goals directed at services to keep the children safe and in the home. So again, unfortunately, Orchards, who does that contract, was unable to provide someone in our location. So do you have any questions?
Yeah, you really confused me a lot.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Contracts, but then the person couldn't fulfill the contract, right?
They have fulfilled the contract through the fiscal year 22.
So that's done.
Yes, they have informed, the contractor can no longer continue on due to a lack of staff.
So you're asking us to do what now?
I'm asking you to approve the dollar amount of that contract for us in hopes that in a month or so, we could have a provider.
And what's the dollar amount? Please?
The Advanced Impact contract is 89,000 and the parent mentor contract is 40,000.
Okay, so we're holding both numbers.
Yes, please.
Did those look for me? Did you add any to them from last year or last contract? I mean, with the contract's pretty.
Exact dollar amounts. We've not changed any of those.
You feel confident you'll be able to find somebody?
Sure. Yes. Yes, I do. I'm hoping. I'm praying.
What, 120,000 total, 80 and 40 to
89 and 40.
129.
Yeah.
I mean, we paid it last year. You paid it again this year, but you just gotta find somebody. I mean.
Right. And that's my next question, but I was going to ask Angie tomorrow how we do a contract bid. I've not done that before here.
It's really getting convoluted on here. We're talking about a lot of things, a lot of moving parts. So we need first of all to hold that portion of those contracts you normally get in the budget. Not necessarily spend it, but approve it to be held in the budget. Okay? Now, everything else is kind of like if this happens or if that happens. So.
Except for the child advocacy fund.
The first one for 10,000 we're approving.
What about, I mean, like you guys put up RFPs or whatever they are to get those folks?
We don't do procurement for mental health, so I'm not really sure.
No, normally what happens is DHHS finds the contractor and we bring that contractor.
Yeah, that's a state level deal.
And we're a part of the county childcare fund, so we're a part of the you pay half, we pay half system. And normally we ask the county's percentage to be these 89,000, 40,000 and 10,000 for the three contractors.
Past the 10,000 that you have a supplier for. And then just had Chris put 89 and 40 in the budget for that until somebody comes along. We'd have the funding, we'd have it budgeted, whether, to start in October 1.
I believe that's what she's asking.
Is that,
That's exactly what I'm
we're
asking.
not gonna issue, we're not gonna grant you the money,
Oh, no,
to put it in the budget.
exactly.
Yeah, she's asking us to hold it in the budget.
Yeah, so then I can come back and give you,
Hey, last year, yeah, but I'd make that motion to do that, pay the one that we have, we can get people to work and then put the other numbers in the budget. Or
Yeah.
as soon as we hire somebody or find somebody or, not me, you guys, but. Yes.
you're not volunteering?
I mean,
Come on, man.
Motion by Commissioner
that.
Smith, support by Commissioner Bailey. You have all that, Angie?
I think so.
All righty.
Thank you.
All those in favor, I need further discussion.
I'm just curious, are the counties surrounding Gratiot County having the same problems?
Yes, I am dual county Gratiot and Shiawassee. And I've lost contractors in both counties at equal rates, and they're larger than we are. And I know that Clinton had a similar issue and Ingham does as well.
Oh,
So
Not new to the system.
Why do you think that you're losing the people? Is it the kind of work or they just?
I think the contractors are losing the individuals because truthfully, all around the state of Michigan, we ask these people to perform a lot of serious functions with people who have lower IQ and have a lot of in-home issues, but they're not compensated financially for that. I'm asking someone to go into a scary, dirty home with people they don't know and shut the door behind them and try to make that family better for very little money.
So what she's saying is, we may hold that much, but expect more. If you want the services to happen. Unfortunately, that's what we're living in.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Good. Any other questions? All those in favor, aye? Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed.
Thank you.
So we have Matt with the rural broadband project.
Good evening. Tonight, I wanted to discuss our rural broadband RFQ that we put out back in early April, late March. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes here. Let's see. Commissioner Bailey, Lemmerman, and then Casey Zenner from Greater Gratiot Development and we both interviewed TTAG and Wideband Group via Zoom, and then Tracy interviewed Guidehouse. So in total, we received 4 responses back. The amounts ranged between 14,500, that was the low bid, and that's Millennium Strategies, all the way up to 147,000, that was TTAG. And all of the companies I thought did a good job of presenting, but the one that I thought would be my recommendation personally would be Wideband. It's the second from the lowest of the bidders, but they had more local experience than the low bidder Millennium Strategies. Millennium Strategies, most of their experience was New York school districts, and Wideband is actually located in Hazlet, Michigan, and they worked with townships and St. Clair County as well. And I welcome Commissioner Lemmerman or Commissioner Bailey to add any feedback that they had or comments that they had as well.
I also liked Wideband Group. They really helped me understand this last mile broadband situation, and they explained how similar it was to rural electrification, and how at that time, you know, utilities were given monopoly power to be able to take electricity to the last. And the way the gentleman explained things, it helped fit things together in my brain as far as what the situation is, what we're facing. But also, I thought that they had a really good track record of getting grants. And if we're going to do this, if we're going to provide rural broadband throughout the county, I think we're going to be heavily dependent upon grants. And we need, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but I believe we actually have to have an advisor in place to be able to get the grants. Is that correct?
I think that's the way that if the board chooses to move forward with rural broadband, that's going to be the best way of moving forward, is having an advisor specifically dedicated to this project and this task. So someone that understands the complexities of the funding mechanisms and the money that's available.
What was the cost of the wideband group?
Yeah, the wideband group was the second lowest bid, and it was
17,020.
Yeah.
And I got the last bidder, you've got original 102,000, revised 40. Is the bid 40?
Yeah, Guidehouse did come down to 40,000 once they had a better understanding of specifically what we were looking for.
I'd like to make a motion that we go with wideband group and as an advisor on the rural broadband project.
And I would support that.
Motion by Commissioner Lemmerman, second by Commissioner Bailey to choose the wideband bid. Any further discussion or questions?
Yes. I'll tell you right now, going into this, I've heard so much about satellites and so much about wireless and so much about a lot of other things that could do the same thing. But after much exploration, I found out that your satellites, your wireless are only going to give you so much bandwidth. All right. Where if you put in fiber optic cable, it opens that bandwidth up quite a ways. Now, my concern is, and I actually had a meeting today with Paul Sugarford from RSD, because that was some questions I wanted to ask him. And they're extremely interested in something like this. So if we going forward, we might want to include them in our discussion so that these people obviously oversee all the school systems within the county. And going back, fiber optic cable will give you the best and the cheapest form of wideband. Okay. Obviously, the problem with that is a tremendous cost. It would cost you hundreds of millions of dollars. And I don't know how much, but it's going to cost a lot of money. The only way this county could even attempt to do it, and I'm not advocating that we, the county, does it, but we have to find somebody that would willing to do that. But we can't find out anything unless we explore it. Okay. But there are companies out there that you can contract with. This is one of them. They're from St. John's. They're very reputable. They'd only be tasked to do a few things. That is to look at what our needs are and what possibilities of grants there are. Okay. I've struggled this for a long time because, oh, what do we need out in the country? But after this pandemic, I saw and personally saw many children struggle because the Zoom programs that they were on, they would get knocked off. From wireless, they had to come into town. They had to sit beside the library to get Wi-Fi or the school to get Wi-Fi. I mean, it was a mess. All right. And I don't want this to happen to our community again if we can help it. And if we can even foster this. I'm not saying do it. I'm saying foster it. Let's foster this to find out what our options are. And to get somebody in, to help get somebody in there that can actually do this. Point Broadband right now is in Ithaca. They've been in St. Louis and they've been in Elma. They're not doing it at the cost of the cities. They're doing it because they got a grant from the federal government to do this. All right. That's the type of thing we have to look for. Is that somebody that's willing to do this last mile. And I think what's going to happen is, well, I hope that's going to happen, is that in the future, our legislators will find out from our schools that our children suffered greatly that were out in the country, out in the rural areas, where they didn't have that ability to get that proper internet connection. And I think it's to our advantage, the county's advantage, to at least explore that situation to see if there's somebody that can help us. And I think it's worthwhile.
Any other questions? And all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passed. So, to the Hero Center. Nancy.
Thank you, Beth.
Thanks, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak in front of you again and to answer any questions you may have. I did want to take a moment to introduce our chair to our Hero Center board, and that is Michael Toms. He's an Air Force veteran, Operation Iraqi Freedom. He represents our major population that we're trying to bring up through the ranks, okay, to this place that's going to be safe, family-oriented, help healing vets, after-hours services, and so forth, as I briefed at our last meeting. So what I did do is take the liberty of kind of just repackaging this a little bit, just to give you a brief overview. It's 3 slides. You have them in front of you. Hopefully, it was my fault that you didn't have them in your original package. But these are the external requirements that we're working toward based on our conversation, the past meeting, that we wanted it to be a nonprofit versus a county entity. And with it being a nonprofit, the only funds we could use are ARP funds if you so desire to grant those to us. If we were a county fund, we would be able to use general funding. But from what I got from the last meeting, we wanted us to go the nonprofit route. So that's the route we've been pursuing at this point. We have worked on the nonprofit paperwork, a joint operation agreement. We're working with the American Legion, who owns the building. And then our internal requirements, we postponed the grand opening. It was going to be September 10th of this year, but because there was more complications than we thought, we are postponing that to the beginning of 2023. We are securing legal counsel in order to make sure that our joint operation agreement is in place properly and has the legality that we want it to be, to make sure that you guys are assured that this is going to go forward the way it should go forward and not just 2 people doing a handshake. Okay. And then we talked about this extensively. The director is the pivot point in the center. We need to secure our fundings and then continue with repairs and refurbishment. And those are just some target suspense dates that we put on there just as mild markers as we move through this project. So then the next slide, I took the liberty of actually doing, sorry, Matt. I'm supposed to do this. So If you could just move it over, Matt, one, thank you. I took the liberty of what the priorities have to be for us to be successful. Priority one is the director, because like I said, they're the pivotal person, because they're going to be me going out and asking for money, writing grants and doing all this stuff to make sure that we are funded and have that proper foundation to move forward. We're going to start off small. Like I mentioned before, we're only talking like 2 days a week to start with. And this is a long-term project. This isn't going to take off in the first year or 2 years. It's going to be like a 5-year project as we gain momentum, get that word of mouth, bring those families together and show people what we can do for them to help them. Priority two is the operation startup cost. And that's, of course, getting the directors started with the technology, the hardware, the computers and stuff that they'll need to be writing the grants and stuff. Putting the place more cosmetic than anything. I had both the city of St. Louis inspection and then also our local county inspector go out there and take a look at the building to make sure at least it had good bones. And they both gave it the green light. So that was great. And then, of course, the priority three is the parking lot is pretty horrible, as you saw the pictures and stuff, but that is on the bottom. Again, the director is the pivotal point. So if we go to the next slide, this is what, thank you. This is what level of support we can deal with and what the center could accomplish at different ports. Of course, you know, if I'm living in a dream world, the whole kit and caboodle would be great, awesome. And then we could do everything we want. But with 245, we can do the director's salary, operation startup requirements. The director's salary, and that's $120,000. And I picked that number because when we talked about it, we talked a range between $40,000 and $60,000. And I'm almost hesitant to even say that based on the earlier conversations about salary. So we want to just make sure, but we had to pick a point. We're not going to start, of course, at $60,000 or that will be our range that we're looking at.
Nancy, does that include the computers and all that stuff in there too?
The $120,000 is, we're talking strictly salary. The 240 or the 125,000 for operational startup does include computers, furniture, paint, stuff like that. That would take the center to that cosmetically looking, because we want people when they walk in that center, it was a senior center and it looks like a senior center. And no offense to Dean Clark, who's the American Legion commander who's sitting right behind me, but it looks like a senior center right now. We don't want it to look like a senior center because we want to recruit people like him, like Michael Toms, who's an Air Force veteran, who's Operation Iraqi Freedom, who's a young guy with a young family. And we want to make sure him and people like him, along with people like Dean Clark, that whole range group feel comfortable walking into the center and know that that's their center. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So we have somebody in the audience tonight too that came, that had some concerns, exactly all the things that you were going to do there at the center.
Sure.
And so I'd like to ask, do you have any questions?
I'm very interested. Okay. And I'm happy to answer any questions after the meeting as well, if we don't answer them at this time. So that's kind of what I wanted to bring forward, and I'm here and I appreciate you even considering it. So whatever questions I can answer for you, that's all I really had to present. I just kind of wanted to kind of repackage it a little bit for you and just re-summarize since we went through the bigger briefing a couple of weeks ago.
I can say how I feel about it is, of course, I've had brothers, uncles, grandfathers that have been in the service. And also dated a guy that's still in the service, that fought for our country for freedom. And that I think it's very, very important that this is a small thing that we can do back to them. And so I am 100% anything that we can do for you and get a motion on the floor. I'd like to make a motion to do 150,000. I know that there's been talk to do 100,000 or 200,000, but at least the 250,000 would give you a big jump. And then towards what you need to do.
So
The only thing asking for
said 200, or 150,
Oh, yeah, it was 100.
100, then you said 250.
No,
So
I haven't made a motion yet.
I know, but you said three things, so I'm kind of confused.
Okay, I haven't made a motion. I'm just saying that I heard just that different ones. I wanted to go a certain amount. There's 120,000. That was for the salary, but you have the 240,000. That's the director's salary and operation. Going in there, that's redoing the whole inside. The only thing you couldn't do is repave the outside payment, right?
And
So that's where I would like to make a vote.
45,000 is what priority two, is that what you're?
It's 245,000 is what I'd like to make a motion on. And again,
And it could be anywhere in between there too. You know, we're appreciative of whatever is possible.
well, thank you.
And it's the third slide on your paper copy too, if that helps you.
Yeah, mine says 200, well, I said 250. I just rounded it off. So that's in between, and that's a good start. And I'm sure that once you get it going, I'm sure there's a lot of people in the community that's going to help donate to that. And that would still be out of the P, I can never think of the initials. Sam, can you help me with that?
Just have it on.
ARP.
ARP, yes, ARP funds. This way you can get donations or it comes in, it's better for you or the whole operation. And I know there's people that are going to be willing to donate and also probably come and help do some of the stuff, volunteer. So anyway, that's my motion.
So we have a motion for 245,000 in ARP fund. Do I have a second? I don't know if we're supposed to take questions.
We have a motion on the floor.
We have a motion on the floor, yeah. Do I have a second for that?
Okay,
Do we have any other ideas then?
I'll make a motion that we go $200,000.
I'll support that.
All right, we have a motion, Commissioner Bunting, for 200,000 even of ARP funds,
Yes.
and second by Commissioner Bailey. Any discussion on that?
Yes. Go ahead, sir.
I just have one concern. I stopped and talked to Nancy about it earlier today. We probably turned 15 people down for the ARP money. We said we're gonna keep that money to use for what we need done in the county. I appreciate everything the veterans have done. I work with this department. I work all these county departments. I just have a hard time. We told a lady in a little church, we couldn't give her, I don't know, $11,000 for a dishwasher here or whatever, broke in their church or something to do dinners. I just think we've told people that the ARP money is kind of shut off. And that's just, I guess, how I feel about it, is that we've told a number of people that.
Okay,
Any other questions?
no, I just got a statement. I'm an old Vietnam War vet, all right? If we'd have had something back in my day, it would have been greatly appreciated. We had a heck of a lot more guys than you guys did, but it's still appreciated. All right? Now, I understand Sam's point of view. I share that point of view. We went and we designated $947,000 to be in the county. All right? But if Nancy would have come 6 months ago, Nancy probably would have got $333,000. All right? And whoever was at the end of the tail when we stopped wouldn't have got anything. So you can look at it two different ways. All right? I look at it, what we have and what we can able to do. We may have to pull some money out of county funds to do other things, but we did decide 2 meetings ago that we would not take on this project with county funds, making part of the county. We wanted them to be their own entity. All right? And that's good. I think that was a good decision. I don't regret that decision at all. But sometimes when Priorities change. And my priorities is still to hold on to every nickel we can. I haven't given that priority up yet. But I understand the need to help veterans. And like being an old vet myself, I've got buddies. I was a Vietnam era veteran. I did not go to Vietnam. I was one of the guys that served for 2 years, but I didn't have to go. But I had 2 brothers that did. And I have one brother today that's on full disability and still suffers from it. If we can help one person and they could be a better person from it, it's worth $200,000.
Any other discussion?
I'm just gonna say, I think I have to vote no on this for the same concerns as what Sam said, but I also think that as a federal taxpayer, as a state taxpayer, we're already doing things for veterans. And I've had people ask me for things. I've had people ask and say, can we do this? Can we do that? I haven't had any constituents asking me for this. And I know right now where the Congress is arguing about the PACT bill, the PACT bill, and the 400 billion of spending that's in there for veterans. And so I'm just saying that along with the fact that we closed the ARP fund requests a couple of times, I gotta vote no.
Any further
I
discussion?
want to say something. I think the military rises above everything. I mean, you went to another country to fight for our freedom. It's the highest thing that anybody could do. I also have a brother with Agent Orange, Vietnam. I have another brother that's passed away, was in Vietnam. Both brothers at the same time. I was at the era, I wrote to a lot of guys in Vietnam. And I gotta tell you, doing this is a very small thing considering what they've done for us. When we walk out of here, we have our freedom. We can do anything we want.
I don't think it's about that. I don't think anybody's begrudging anybody who's been in the military. I don't think it's about that at all. I think it's about the process it's about money and the process that we used about money. We told probably 15, 20 people, we've shut the funds off. You know, that's all it's about. It's about the money. We've shut the funds off. I think we had somebody come even after the lady for a dishwasher for the church to continue on having dinners or something. I think somebody come after that too. And, you know, we were going to leave $1.5 million for ourselves and we're down to 9 something, you know, and so we're not going to fund all the project that we want to get done. That's all it's about. It's just about the money and the timing. For me, that's all it is, just about the money. It's just.
Okay, well, I think we're ready to vote. I'm in favor of this. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Lumberman,
No.
Commissioner Smith.
No.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see, I think we have an addition. Do we have a presentation on this ARP list or is it?
That's just for.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yep. All right, we're on to M. Something brought up here on the airport. The attorney.
This is, there was a discussion at the last meeting and you folks had decided, yes, let's go with the airport authority, continue with that structure, although it would be reconstituted and the duly elected Gratiot County Commissioners would serve as the airport authority members. With that, there were some adjustments that were required to the retainer agreement with attorney Bob Buchanan. I had just received his revisions this morning, which is why this came to you as late as it did. I'm sure you've not had a chance to review everything, but what I have provided you first is the revised retainer agreement. Second is the fairly lengthy email that I sent to Mr. Buchanan last week after I reviewed the retainer letter and the standard Varnum law firm service and billing memorandum, which is this fairly lengthy small print document. Then I heard back from Mr. Buchanan. He was willing to incorporate most or all of what I had touched on, or he offered his responses to each. At this point, I've reviewed this, and of course, I'm continuing the discussion with him after the last meeting. I think this letter is in fine shape, and I can recommend that you enter your engagement with Mr. Buchanan by the terms listed in this letter agreement.
I would like to table this till I have time to read it. You can put it to the next meeting on the 16th. I think it's important to do several things. This is a conflict.
We had it last time. Basically, we made some changes that we decided how we're going to do this is that commissioners will be the board, the authority of the airport. The airport today, we're still going to negotiate with the authority of the airport to make sure we get everything to operate this thing. We're going to end up, the commission will end up owning this, everything, operating it. I think it's, when you look at this, we probably just need to move forward on it to get this thing started. We may have a change tomorrow in people sitting here or the next day or whatever. I know it doesn't change till January, but I think we have time to put this thing together. And so I just think we ought to move forward to it. We asked her to get it done. Hope to appoint an advisory board. And I think that, once we get this thing locked up with the city of Alma and the townships. And
Are you going to make a motion on both of them or just?
I gotta tell you something, wait a minute. I learned my lesson on the last time I approved something I didn't read. And we haven't, how many people have read this?
I have.
So you got it ahead of time?
It was just gave us
We
today.
were just given it.
Yeah.
We just got it today.
Sat down here this evening and read it.
come here early.
I didn't.
Well,
I read
It's
one.
two highlighted changes here. That stickers where the changes are.
I'm just telling you, I'm not gonna approve of it and I want to table.
I make the motion with you. Go ahead. Your motion was first. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
No, I'm not making any motion. I'm telling you that we need to read this. I'll tell you what, we'll take the next hour and I'll read it, okay? So you guys go ahead and do something and I'll read it.
make a motion, Sam.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve this.
You could do this, but I'm gonna,
I support it.
So we do have a motion by Commissioner Smith, a second by Commissioner Bailey. Any further discussion? Still has to be approved by all the parties, correct?
Sure. We're close. We're just moving forward. The airport authority is going to pay the bill. We're just moving forward to get into negotiations, discussion with them, how it all ends up. This will have to have an approval.
do they have a copy of this yet?
Who's they?
Of the city of Alma?
The airport authority. They executed this a long time ago.
I'm talking about the contracts.
They executed it a long time ago. Once this board decided it was on board with this project.
I'm telling you, I'm not approving something I have.
Fine.
And I would have to agree with Commissioner Bunting that it should be passed out at the. But I think we're ready to vote. Yep. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bunting,
No.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
No, motion passed.
Next, in front of you is the resolution that embodies the decisions that you made at the last meeting, specifically to take over the airport as a reconstituted airport authority. It's all subject to negotiation of the terms that are illustrated in this agreement. The difference between this resolution and the one that you were provided at the last meeting is that this correctly states and incorporates the decision you made as opposed to the disbanding of the existing authority and the county owning and operating it as a county entity. We ran into some issues with that. So this is a revised resolution, simply making that.
I believe that was the last thing we said about it. This is the easiest way to go board to board. And that's when we said this will be the airport authority, whoever sits in these seats.
That's correct. And the resolution that you had last time was simply a different model of governance.
It was just county would run it, and then we're going from board to county ownership.
And we essentially just strike one paragraph, that's the last one, like the fifth paragraph.
1, 2, 3, 4. The first 4 paragraphs are the same. The fifth paragraph provides the language about you folks, the duly elected commissioners of Gratiot County serving as the members of the airport authority, and that it's a reconstitution of the airport authority and not a disbanding of the authority.
Right.
The next paragraph written, I hope a little bit better. Again, I wanted to keep those issues out there that, this is subject to the negotiation of these issues. I've not added any issues. This is what we've been talking about and what was in the last resolution. The next paragraph about Gratiot County being the sole municipal financial contributor is that was not in the last resolution, but that is in fact what would it would be the reality of this. Now, I don't say the sole financial funder, I say the sole municipal financial contributor. So that leaves the door open for grants and any of those sorts of things. And of course, I'm referencing City of Alma, St. Louis, Ithaca, the townships, they no longer would be contributing. And that really are the differences.
So once again, this is being brought to us at the last minute. I think it would be easier if it was in a proper form. You should have italicized or bolded the changes, but it's just way of looking at it. Any questions?
Adopt resolution number 22-289. That's before us.
By Commissioner Bailey to adopt this resolution. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lemmerman. Any further discussion?
Let me just say that I was copied on the correspondence from the lawyer. He just replied this morning. So we just got that stuff back this morning. And I asked Tracy, I said, can we get it on today? Because I really wanted to push forward with this. Give the existing airport authority the all clear that yes, we're on board and we're moving. We're moving to get this deal wrapped up.
We've not done nothing. We're just moving
Okay.
forward until they're.
Right. I'm just saying it's proper to change the type style or something.
I understand something, stuff like that.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, aye? Request a roll call.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Bunting,
No.
Commissioner Murphy.
Once again, it came at the last minute. I'm going to vote no. Motion passed. So we can move forward. Let's see, I think we've exhausted the agenda, haven't we? I'm already changed it. Without objection, we're adjourned.
Thank you.